I'm going to try and spiral in here. We'll see how it goes. I've been talking with quite a few people recently. Everyone seems to be having similar experiences as far as whatever phase we happen to be in. Well, and however we may be oriented as far as self-identification. There seems to be something that happens where the unfolding begins to become conscious. We become conscious that something is shifting or changing. We feel like we have one foot in one level of consciousness and one foot in a different level of consciousness. Maybe there's been glimpses of that which is beyond the ego function, but the ego is still functioning. And, different rivers are, mixing and matching, and all of it is divine and intelligent and wise beyond the thinking mind. But there is still this habituated tendency to reference it, describe it, and try to navigate it through the thinking mind. And it doesn't work out very well, because often what the thinking mind has to say about whatever one's current spiritual unfolding, whatever that may be, what it has to say, from at least from what I'm hearing and seeing, and I can also remember it here, it's not very nice. It's not very nice about the experience. It's like, it's very judging, critical, shaming, woulda, shoulda, coulda, grass is greener, dissatisfied with whatever it might be, in whatever way it might be dissatisfied, not happening fast enough, not happening enlightenedly enough, whatever it is. When we're trying to navigate the unfolding through the thinking, it's it's challenging. It can be challenging anyway. This journey is not for the faint of heart, right? Because ego death is the beginning of a lot of change in the reflection, meaning the logistics of one's life. As the wind blows, so the sand shifts. This is the way reality works. So it's challenging enough without adding this thinkingness, description, narration. And I'm not saying that needs to be warred against. We can't war against it. It just perpetuates and raises the volume. We all know that. But to believe it, when we believe it, we're a bit sunk. Thoughts come and go. Feelings come and go. Changing phenomena comes and goes. Lots of things come and go. But if we are believing the narration, eventually it stops. It stops. But if we're trying to make it stop, or going to war against what it's saying, it that doesn't work. We've all tried it. Lots of and lots and lots of us have tried it, and it's not the way. The mind will eventually, the narrating core of self-reflective ego will eventually drop out of experience, but not until it does. Divinely timed. To everything, there is a season and a purpose under heaven. It's, it's wise beyond what we think. What's being said in the thinkingness. I'm just, hearing so many who are trying to navigate, number one, just life in 2023 with all of its challenges and divisiveness and all of everything that's happening, but then also this spiritual unfolding that is happening. And what I'm mostly hearing is that it's being navigated through a thinkingness. And it's not very kind or gentle or accepting. And, so I had put out there some questions. I can't remember when and what talk. In the morning meditations, we explore it sort of endlessly. But, is it kind? Is it gentle? Look for it. Where is my belief? What am I giving my belief to in any situation? Because, eventually belief has to go along with all the rest. Belief doesn't survive the loss of the ego and self. Belief, you don't believe, it's just, it becomes irrelevant. It's not that you're against belief, it becomes irrelevant. It's just not part of the landscape. Let's put it that way. It's not part of the landscape. But questioning into the narration, which is generally a tale of their unworthiness, not good enoughness, somehow less than. Like I say, the woulda, shoulda, coulda, you should have, you could have, you would have, this narration. It's very seductive for the attention because the attention is habituated, entangled, enmeshed in the narration. Sometimes there's not even enough space to see that the attention can be moved. There's a forgetting that that's actually a function within awareness. Attention can be moved. Soles of the feet, top of the head, palms of the hands, wherever you want. Let's move the attention. But when it's entangled and enmeshed in that thought stream, it doesn't even feel like a choice sometimes. It's just like boom, 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 and it's not helpful. But then there is this whole sense of, I gotta make it stop, right? And the going to war to battle with it somehow, in some way, whatever our particular way is, to go to battle with it, or to layer something on top of it, some sort of coping compensatory mechanism that's also habituated, like an obsessive compulsion or, a defense, some kind of defense, some kind of justification, so now we have like the thing inside the head that is like beating the crap out of us and the defending thing that's defending us. And it's just like, if I could somehow, I was, talking to Barb on the way up here, and I had been contemplating it for a few days. How do we make peace with whatever phase, whatever situation, the be as is pointer? But sometimes the be as is pointer just feels too abstract until it's reality. I mean, as long as our attention is still sort of up in the head, in the thinking, being as is just like, what, making peace is what kind of came in as maybe some different language, just making peace with where we are, what's happening, how it's unfolding, what it looks like. So many of us have there's so much information out there about what enlightened, embodied living is. And we can only ever be informed, and I mean that literally, informed by the moment, as the moment. That's it. That's all that's ever happening anyway. That's all that's ever happening anyway. So to make peace with what actually is, and I think it begins with sincerity and authenticity. One has to be sincere. We can't subtly argue with reality through hope, wishes, fantasy, imagination, delusion, all of that. I mean, we can subtly argue with reality that way, but sincerity really greases the wheels. Authenticity, sincere. And I don't mean like, over the loudspeaker at the grocery store, oh, this is where I'm at. No, just with your own self. Maybe your spiritual, maybe Sangha. Those who have joined for the ride. And then within that sincerity, that authenticity, a gentleness of being, a kindness of being. And if we can't generate that or find it, we can ask questions about what we're believing, about the situation and about ourselves. Is this kind? Is it kind? Questions are a great way to sort of shake up the status quo of the mind and its monologue, its narration. Just a gentle questioning, like water on the shore, It's like, it's gentle, it's kind, but it's powerful. If we have an expectation and an agenda, the ego always has an expectation and an agenda. That is part of the function, the process within consciousness we call ego. There is a projection out of what actually is happening, So whatever's happening is actually happening. And then there is the experience of that, which is direct and immediate. And then there's the narration, the referencing, the description, the thinking about what's happening, which is not what's happening, right? What's happening is actual. It's actual, it's direct. So there's that next step. And within that, there's usually some kind of agenda, expectation, judgment. There's some kind of hook so that it can keep going. And then if there's so many steps past the actuality, we sometimes can't really ever even get back to the actuality. But if we sit down in the actuality, possibly even as the actuality, it feels miraculous, because the wisdom that shines is not created. It's not manufactured through the thinking process or through the woulda, shoulda, coulda, or through the expectation or the agenda or any of that. It's just shining always. And when all of that is dropped, it comes into consciousness. It comes into awareness. And we've all had this, right? Where like there's a spontaneous rising of wisdom, compassion, love, joy, whatever it is, that does not have a cause. To the mind, it doesn't seem to match the experience, right? Because sometimes the experience is sorrowful, painful, who knows? So if the mind is like, that's not right. And then people will get caught in the idea that they're spiritually bypassing, and there is plenty of that going on, so it's not a bad question to ask, but this shines forth of its own accord as itself, without cause. It's not rewarded, deserved. We don't get it because we handled the situation really, really well as a good person. I mean, that's great. That's when that happens, but it's essential, fundamental, and always and already. But it isn't in view because so much of the content is being owned and talked about, and all the positionalities are being defended. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. We all know. And the mind, when it hears it talked about, will start creating yet another idea that of what it is, of what that's like, and what it will be like if it's realized. And that's all a big mind trip as well. Because the only thing that will ever inform the immediacy, the responsive immediacy that is left in the place of ego, is the moment. That's it. That's it. Not our past experience, not what the personality judges it to be, right, wrong, good, bad, all of that. Love is beyond all of that. It's beyond. It's fierce, it's immediate, and it's unknown to the thinking mind because it's beyond that. And it's prior, right? The direct experience, once it's described, is no longer direct. which just seems impossible to the mind, and is impossible to the mind. It's impossible to think about. It's not, you can't think about it. There's no time for thinking. There's no time for it. It's timeless, seamless, formless, all those words. It's like, there was a quote in the newsletter that went out today. It's like something, I'm going to probably butcher it, but it's Ananda Mahima. Only that which can be talked about is being said. That which cannot be talked about is not being said, but is what is. But we do our best, and to talk about it. That's why they're called pointers, and the finger at the moon and all of that, because it can't. The PhD on honey and bees making honey isn't the same thing as eating honey. It's just not. And honey isn't eating honey until we call it that. It's a direct experience. So back to the kind, gentle, sincere, and I would also add trusting way of unfolding to somehow within your own way, because we're each coming at this from our divine distinction. There must be a way to make peace with the unfolding. We can't take the rosebud and pry it open. We just totally destroy it. It's, if the stream, I used to use this, I don't know if it's a very good one, honestly. Is it a metaphor? Whatever. When I taught traditional Thai medicine, because there was this period of time where the tradition that I came from, Mama Jaya's tradition, was sort of getting really muddied in the Western way of being sort of like super independent and creative, which is a beautiful way, but how do you keep the seed of what something is and also, make it like the art of living and embodiment? But if you want to kayak a river, then you need to bring a kayak, right? Like, that's the thing. So if we're coming to spiritual and awakening, unfolding, this journey, whatever we call this, that's the stream that we need to put our feet in. We need to get in that water. You know what I mean? In the I get that there are a lot of new and fresh ways and means, and they're all on the internet, and there's a teacher for every day and every way that you feel. And I don't know much about that, because I've always been a person who just really wants to stay with it. Once I resonate with it, then I can contemplate, be still, and know that I am God, probably for the rest of my life. But in this day and age of so much, just Take a look around you once in a while and make sure you're in the stream you want to be in. That's actually facilitating your continued evolution and is supporting it. And you know, put yourself in the resonance of that through whatever means there is, you know, reading, gatherings, I don't know. Because it can get really tricky as the ego process begins to fall out of experience. There is a lot of shifting, a lot of shifting. And the one thing that the ego process most wants is security. So it's very useful to find what is useful. Find what is useful. Being still. It is in every tradition, every path. Be still. Be still. Question the beliefs. Question the narrative. Is it kind? Is it gentle? What's really happening? Spend as much time as you possibly can in just open field listeningness, availability. Find people, friends, you know, sangha, whatever you call that, and a teaching that you resonate with. And then understand and trust the process that this is a natural unfolding of divinity, the divine impulse to become existence. That's what this is. That's what we are. That is existence. Emptiness dancing is how Adya says it. So if we throw all of our positionalities at it, and I know best, you know, I need to make this turn now and this, you know, and it's all being navigated through thinkingness, strategic planning. We will not win. That's like, you know, we're not going to win that. Life, the uncaused love at the heart of beingness is the animating, you know, that which animates. I mean, we can take as many laps around the circle as we want. There's no blame or shame or anything else. It's not like we have to cross the finish line at a given time. Oh my God. It's not like that, obviously. We're, you know, there's no punishment, but it does look like suffering. It looks like suffering when I'm speaking with people, with those of us who are battling in some way against the current level of consciousness, the current phase, the current divine holy instant. It looks painful. And we're not going to escape pain as human beings. I'm not part of that like bliss crowd. But uncaused joy, yeah. Uncaused peace is there when we look. When the attention is available, when it's available. But how often is it available? And we might say, well, I've got things to do. I've got kids to raise. I get it. Fully understand. And it's quite dumbfounding to the thinking mind how life goes right on going without much of its help. It's truly dumbfounding. It's not to be believed. It will never be believed. It can't be. I mean, the doer is not going to believe that it's obsolete to the process. That's something that is like discovered, revealed, recognized. So anyway, that's a lot of going on and on about what I really just wanted to say is I really hope that everyone can be kind and gentle with the process and themselves and make peace in a way with whatever the current expression, however it is currently unfolding. And there is a way to do that. But it's when we're believing thoughts. We tend to bring about more suffering than is actually really needed or called for, or, I mean, we suffer when we believe those thoughts. So I would like to take